right, let's talk now about the coronavirus pandemic, police reforms, the economy, a lot of big topics right now in our nation's capital. And you can see Congressman Tom Reed is joining us right now. He, of course, represents the Southern Tier. Congressman, we really appreciate you being here. I want to start with the COVID-19 pandemic and the federal government's role, which is essentially your role as a congressman. States are at different points in their epidemics. They're opening in different ways. There's no one-size-fits-all approach to this, and most people seem to think that's the right way to handle it. So that really kind of puts the focus of the federal response in large measure on helping improve the economy. So a lot of people are wondering, is it time for another round of stimulus? And specifically, I wonder, do you think Americans should get another stimulus check? And what do you think of this new idea about a $4,000 travel credit to boost the economy?
Well, I appreciate that, and I do think we are getting ready. We're returning to Washington next week. We've been in the district the entire time, and I'll just tell you, with the first 3.5 packages that came through Congress, we had trillions of dollars of assistance to our economy and to people, and I think you're going to see another package around $1 to $2 trillion being negotiated, and it's going to include another economic stimulus check. I hope it goes to our workers who showed up during the national emergency. That's what our act is, and that's what we're advocating for. That would be a $3,000 bonus to our workers. Also, we have to take care of our local governments, really stand firm to assist our local governments, especially those that make that have 500,000 people or less. They've already received some assistance under the existing packages. So our local governments need direct local aid, and I think that will be in the package. And we got some additional reforms coming and some additional assistance. And we got to talk about reforming the unemployment system. You can't be making more money on unemployment than you do at work. We should reward work and stand with our workers.
On a similar topic, Congressman, you have called for an investigation into Governor Cuomo's administration because, as everyone knows now, early on in the pandemic, the state required nursing homes to take most COVID patients from hospitals. The governor has claimed that he was following federal guidelines. Independent fact checkers have said that is not exactly true. But the governor's main argument here is that nursing homes should have known to only take patients if they could do so safely. That is how he is explaining all of this. What is the point of your investigation, and how do you respond when the governor says you're just playing politics here to cover for the federal failures that happened during this pandemic?
This independent fact checkers, as you know, said this was false, that this is a lie by the governor in regards to his decision directing that corona-positive seniors had to be returned to the nursing homes. This is going to be something that we get to the facts that shows that this is the root cause of 6,000 minimum of our grandparents and parents who died as a result of that order. So there's justice and accountability that needs to be had for these families and for those deaths. But most importantly, we have to sit together and figure out how to best prepare for the virus if and when it comes again in the fall. And we have to understand from the governor why this order was made by the governor, why he exposed our grandparents and parents to death as a result of his ordering them into the nursing home facility. And what are we going to do about it going forward? I got some ideas. Why don't we have designated facilities that take our parents and grandparents that are COVID-19 positive, give them specialized care because of their unique circumstances, make sure they have the best chance to have recovery so that they can return back to the nursing home after the disease has run its course. That way you're not exposing those workers in those nursing homes. You're not exposing the co-residents like you did with this order. And I'll just tell you, justice demands that we get to the bottom of this. And to say that this is being done for politics is just completely false. This is about holding the governor accountable for this egregious decision that led to at least 6,000 of our parents, and I would contend at least maybe potentially 12,000 of our parents and grandparents in New York who died as a result of this virus.
Let's switch gears a little bit. We're having debates across the country right now about reforms to police departments. There have been proposals in Congress, one from Senate Republicans, another from House Democrats. Both of them would, for instance, give more money for body cameras. There are some similarities, also, though, some differences between them. What specifically are 2 or 3 things that you think Congress needs to put into law to improve policing?
Well, first of all, I think President Trump's executive order was a great step in a direction to address the bad actors in law enforcement. And remember, it was President Trump who signed criminal justice reform here just a little over a year ago, 2 years ago, in regards to one of the biggest criminal justice reform packages that's been signed into law. And President Trump did that. So that gives me hope that there is a path here for us to come together to address this issue of bad actors in law enforcement. And so I think there's mutual agreement on additional money for body cams. I think there's mutual agreement for those going through the hiring practice, that the hiring authorities have access to the information to make sure that no bad actor can hop from department to department. I think also using the federal dollars that go to law enforcement to reward best practices, to make sure that the training guides are up to 2020 standards. That to me is the cornerstone of how we can move forward here together to take on the issue of police brutality. But we have a bigger issue to attack. And that is why I was proud to march with the protesters who came together. We had law enforcement, all colors of America united in the moment to condemn the murder of George Floyd, but also to come together and say, it's time for us to go to the next level in America that Martin Luther King envisioned, where all races sat together and confronted racism and to lead the nation down a colorblind path going forward. Now, I understand our black neighbors, our black community has been hit with in particular during this time, and we stand with them to make sure that their particular issues are addressed and listened to. And that is what I'm trying to do by joining in this protest and being a voice to bring people together.
Right now, we are showing a tweet that came out this morning from President Trump, somewhat related to this. He said, any protesters, anarchists, agitators, looters, or lowlifes who are going to Oklahoma, please understand you will not be treated like you have been in New York, Seattle, or Minneapolis. It will be a much different scene. The president there referencing protesters specifically. Do you agree with the president that protesters who go to Oklahoma for his rally tomorrow should be treated poorly? And should he really be having this indoor rally, considering cases are going up there to begin with?
Well, first, when it comes to peaceful protesters, obviously I support that. And what I think the president, as I hear the tweet, is he's talking about those that are rioting, that are using these moments to advance their radical extremist agenda through violence and by damaging other people's property. That cannot be acceptable. So I join in that sentiment. But yeah, the rally itself, I mean, we are returning to some normalcy. I mean, you've seen protesters that have gone out and united in regards to their message and being out in public, fighting for what they believe in. And I think this is a step on the political spectrum to say, you know what, it may be time to get back into the political debate, to have these debates, to engage in these debates. We got to do it smart. We got to do it safe. We got to have a healthy respect for the COVID-19 virus. It has not gone away. Just as you deal with the protests, same with the rallies. We have to make sure we use the mask, do the social distancing. But at the end of the day, we do have to return to America as we live and breathe in our great country of freedom. And that means that these rallies, I think, this is the beginning of this return to the political campaign season.
19,000 people packed indoors, though. That doesn't give you a little bit of pause?
Well, you know, I don't know what the numbers are. I'm obviously not going to be attending. I just encourage them, follow the social distancing, follow the masking. I don't know exactly what size of the arena and that type of thing. I would hope they're following the protocols. But, you know, at the end of the day, this is about not living our life in fear. It's about having a healthy respect. We've learned a lot about the COVID-19 virus. And I will just tell you, we're going to have to somehow make sure we do it in a safe and responsible manner. But we do have to return to some level of normalcy in America.
And luckily here in Western New York, the numbers are going in the right direction. Cases, hospitalizations, all of those things continuing to decline. And that's especially the case in the part of Western New York that you represent, some communities with very few cases all along. Let me end with the remaining time that we have here. When we talk about the economy, which has of course taken such a hit due to the coronavirus and then the shutdowns that followed, you have talked a lot about infrastructure spending. I know that you're on the Problem Solvers Caucus. Is this an area of agreement between the parties? And even if there is agreement, if we're being realistic, how in the world does anything get done in the political atmosphere right now with elections coming up in November?
Well, you can't give up hope, and that's why I still have hope that we're going to do an infrastructure package. President's talked about at least $1 trillion. I think that's the reasonable number to put together. And when you have low interest rates like you have right now, and a lot of our infrastructure, remember, infrastructure is a long-term investment. You're making investments for 15 to 30, even potentially 50 years with what we're envisioning in the infrastructure bill that we've supported in the past. And I will tell you, taking advantage of those low interest rates makes some sense to me. Also, you get the fiscal stimulus that comes with the jobs of building these roads, building this broadband network, building the infrastructure for tomorrow's economy today. And I'll tell you that it's worth the investment. Now is the time to do it. If we can't get it done before the election, I am almost positive in the first 3 to 6 months of the next cycle, this will be a top priority and will be